Everyone at the restaurant laughed when she handed him the small glossy gift bag. Red tissue paper peeked out from the top like a secret waiting to be revealed, trembling slightly in his hands as he pulled it free. He tore it open, expecting maybe a watch, cufflinks, or something discreetly expensive. But when the soft fabric slipped into his hands, the air in the room changed. Underwear, not just any pair, designer, clearly chosen with care. She leaned forward across the table, her lipstick catching the light, and whispered proudly for everyone to hear, "I've been buying his underwear for years. It's our little tradition." The table erupted into laughter, a few guests clapping at the audacity. Cameras came out. I stood a few steps behind him, my hands instinctively wrapping around my belly, silent. In that moment, no one else noticed how my fingers trembled or how my smile faltered. No one saw the way his jaw tightened, or the flicker of shame and confusion in his eyes. To everyone else, it was just a playful joke at a birthday party. To me, it was the sound of something cracking inside my chest, a sharp splinter of truth. I wasn't the only woman who felt entitled to him. The evening had started like a dream. Soft golden lighting bathed the restaurant in a warm glow, glass walls revealed the city skyline glittering like spilled diamonds. The long table was crowded with friends, colleagues, and family. He'd asked me to join as his closest companion, his words dripping with the kind of warmth that had pulled me through months of nausea and late-night fears about our baby. For weeks I'd rehearsed how I might tell everyone about the pregnancy, imagining applause, hugs, and his proud smile. But the woman with the perfect hair and bold laugh, her name was Mira, sat at his right, leaning too close, teasing him about old habits and inside jokes I wasn't part of. She spoke of trips abroad, of shared memories, of a version of him I didn't know. When he introduced me, it was quick, almost casual. "This is Anna." No explanation, no context, just Anna. I smiled politely, swallowing each new detail like a stone. The appetizers arrived, and Mira continued her stories. "Remember Madrid," she said, touching his sleeve. "You forgot your passport and I had to." Her laughter rang out, a private echo in a public space. He chuckled, embarrassed. "Madrid?" I asked quietly. "I didn't know you'd been to Spain." He looked at me briefly, then back at her. "That was years ago," he said. "Work trip." I cut my steak into tiny pieces and forced myself to eat. My hands kept drifting to my belly under the table. Our baby shifted, a small flutter reminding me of the life I was protecting, the future I was trying to build. But with every story Mira told, that future felt more fragile. When the cake arrived, white frosting, golden candles flickering like tiny fires, he turned to me and squeezed my hand under the table. "Stay after," he whispered. "I need to talk to you." I nodded, hope and dread colliding. Maybe he was going to finally announce the pregnancy. Maybe he was going to tell Mira the truth. Maybe. Then came the underwear moment. Myra's gift bag. The laughter. Her triumphant confession. My silence. The rest of the party blurred into noise. Toasts, clinking glasses, snapshots. I felt like I was floating outside my own body, watching a scene from a movie where the heroine realizes she's been cast in the wrong role. When people asked how I knew him, I smiled vaguely. "We met at work," I said, the safest answer. Later, on the balcony overlooking the city lights, I leaned against the railing, trying to steady my breath. Inside, music played and voices rose. Through the glass doors, I could see him laughing with Mira again, his hand brushing her shoulder as she whispered something in his ear. He came to me a few minutes later, closing the door behind him. The noise of the party faded, replaced by the hum of the city below. "She's just a friend," he said quickly, before I'd even spoken. "Myra's been around forever. It's nothing." I wanted to believe him. But the way he watched her, the way she spoke of years of intimacy, of rituals like buying his underwear, those were not just nothing. They were signs of a life I hadn't been invited into. "Did you ever tell her about me?" I asked quietly. His face was unreadable. "Not like this," he admitted. I was waiting for the right time. I felt my throat tighten. Waiting. For what? He rubbed the back of his neck, looking suddenly younger. "I didn't expect her to bring that gift. She's dramatic. You know how some people are." "I don't know how she is," I said. "I don't know anything about her. But she seems to know everything about you." He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Inside me, our baby shifted again. I pressed my palm against my belly. Silent, he exhaled, frustrated. Anna, please. This is my birthday. Can we not do this right now? My laugh came out bitter. When would be a good time? After she buys you next year's underwear. His eyes hardened. That's not fair. No, I whispered. It's not. We stood there, the city glittering below us, the party roaring behind the glass, and between us a chasm of unspoken truths. This was the first time I realized that being with him might mean living in the shadows of his past, and possibly his present. I went back inside, my face composed. People were singing now. Mira caught my eye, her expression unreadable. Maybe she sensed the tension. Maybe she didn't care. I sat down, sipping water, trying to think. The pregnancy had been a secret between us until now. He had said he wanted to tell everyone together, at the right time. But what if that time never came? What if I was just a phase, a quiet interlude in his larger, louder life? Across the table, he cut a slice of cake and handed it to Mira first. She accepted with a smile, brushing his fingers. My stomach turned. By the time the party ended, my smile was a mask. Guests hugged, took selfies, promised to meet again soon. I slipped out before he could stop me. In the taxi, city lights smeared across the windows like tears. I rested my hand on my belly and whispered, "It's okay. I've got you." The baby fluttered again, as if answering. At home, I sat in the dark living room, still in my dress, shoes kicked off. The gift bag image replayed in my mind like a loop. Her triumphant smile, the soft fabric in his hands, the laughter. My silent belly. He called once, twice. I didn't answer. Finally, a message, "Please talk to me. It's not what you think." But wasn't it? I looked around my small apartment, the crib still in its box against the wall, the ultrasound picture taped to the fridge. This was my reality, our reality. And yet, in his world, I was invisible enough that another woman could boast about buying his underwear, for years, without even a flicker of shame. Tears slipped down my cheeks, but beneath them, something harder was forming, a quiet resolve. This wasn't how I had imagined announcing our child. It wasn't how I had imagined his birthday, or our life together. But even in that moment, a small voice whispered, "You still have choices. You can still draw a line." I wiped my face and stood, looking at myself in the mirror. My belly curved gently under my dress, a secret turning into a promise. Tomorrow, I decided, I would demand the truth. Tomorrow, he would have to choose. But tonight, I held my belly, silent. Not out of weakness, but because silence is sometimes the breath you take before speaking your truth. And somewhere deep inside me, for the first time, I felt not just fear, but also strength. "Tell me the truth now," I said the next morning, my suitcase half-packed and standing open on the bed. "Do you want her, or do you want this?" My hand rested on my belly. He stood in the doorway of my apartment, still wearing the same suit jacket from the night before, but now it hung off him like a confession. He stared at my hand as if he were seeing it for the first time. He crossed the room slowly, stopping a few feet away, palms out like a man approaching something delicate. "I didn't know how to end it," he admitted, voice hoarse. "Mira and I were complicated. We stopped being lovers years ago, but she never let go. I never drew the boundary." His words were knives and balm at the same time, hurting, but also revealing. I sat down on the edge of the bed, exhaustion heavier than grief. "I can't be someone's secret," I said. "Not for me. Not for our child." The crib box leaned against the wall like an accusation. His eyes flicked toward it and then back to me. He sank to his knees in front of me. "I don't want to lose you." His hands hovered near my knees but didn't touch. "I was going to tell everyone. I was waiting for the right moment. Then you have to choose. Now." My voice surprised me with its steadiness. For months I'd been the quiet one, the one who made space. Now every word felt like a stone laid down to mark a boundary. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then he stood, walked to the window, and took a deep breath. "I'll end it today," he said finally. "I'll make it clear to her. I should have done it years ago." He rubbed his face, shoulders slumping. "You deserve better than this. But promises are only words until actions prove them." I watched him leave, my heart a battlefield between hope and skepticism. The door clicked shut, leaving behind the echo of his cologne and my own uncertainty. All day, I moved through my apartment like a ghost. I folded baby clothes I'd bought on impulse, tiny socks with stars on them. I made tea and didn't drink it. Every few minutes my phone lit up with messages from friends. Great party last night. You looked beautiful. No one knew what had really happened between the clinking glasses and the cake. By mid-afternoon, a knock came at my door. Not him. Mira. She stood there in a pale coat, her hair pulled back, her lipstick gone. Without the party lights and confidence, she looked smaller, almost lost. Can we talk? She asked. Her voice trembled. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked in slowly, eyes darting around my apartment, the stacked prenatal vitamins, the ultrasound photo on the fridge, the half-assembled crib. She sank into my sofa like someone collapsing after a long run. He told me everything, she said. I didn't know about the baby. I stood by the window, arms crossed, unsure why I'd let her in. Maybe because I needed to hear what she had to say. Maybe because part of me wanted to look her in the eye, woman to woman. I kept buying his underwear because it was the only piece of him I still had, she confessed, staring at her hands. I thought it was harmless. A joke. But last night I saw your face. I saw how he looked at you. And I realized, I've been holding on to something that isn't mine anymore. It was the strangest moment of my life. Two women, both holding fragments of the same man, finally looking at each other as humans instead of rivals. My anger, sharp and cold, softened a little around the edges. I'm not your enemy, I said softly. But you humiliated me last night. She nodded, tears filling her eyes. I'm sorry. I thought he was still mine in some way. I see now he's not. She stood, smoothing her coat. I'm stepping back. He needs to build his life with you. And you deserve to be seen. After she left, I sat down, stunned. The living room smelled faintly of her perfume, but also of something like closure. For the first time, I believed he might actually be telling the truth. That evening, he returned. His phone was off. His eyes were red. He dropped his keys on the table and came to me without hesitation. It's done, he said simply. No more blurred lines. No more secrets. He reached out, but stopped himself. I told her everything. I told my mother, my colleagues. I told them about the baby. I told them about us. I studied his face, looking for cracks. He didn't look relieved. He looked raw. And, she cried. She said she already knew in her heart. She said goodbye. He swallowed hard. I didn't realize how much of my life I'd kept in compartments. It's not fair to anyone. Especially you. For weeks afterward, I watched his behavior more than his words. He began making space for me publicly, introducing me at work functions, telling friends about the baby, drawing clear lines with his past. He called at lunch to check on me. He came to doctor appointments. It wasn't instant healing, but it was proof. Yet healing isn't a straight line. Some nights, lying in bed, I still heard Myra's voice in my head. I've been buying his underwear for years, like a ghost of the life he'd had before me. I would roll onto my side, hand on my belly, wondering if trust could ever be complete again. One evening, months later, he came home with a plain brown bag. Close your eyes, he said. I hesitated, then did. He placed something soft in my hands. I opened my eyes. Inside was a tiny onesie for our unborn child, with tiny stars printed on it. A new tradition, he said, his voice unsteady. Something only ours. I laughed, tears spilling over. It's perfect. We sat together on the couch, the onesie between us, our hands resting on my belly. For the first time, the baby kicked hard enough for him to feel. His eyes widened, and he bent his head, pressing his lips to my skin. Hi there, he whispered to our child. We're here, we're ready. At the next family dinner, smaller, quieter, he stood up and told everyone about the baby. He thanked me for my patience. He thanked Mira, too, for understanding. There were no gifts of underwear, no awkward jokes. Just a table full of people who finally knew the truth. As the months passed, the apartment transformed. The crib was assembled. The ultrasound pictures multiplied on the fridge. He started painting the spare room soft green. Each brushstroke felt like a promise. And yet, the memory of that birthday still lingered. Not as a wound anymore, but as a reminder. Because that night, when she handed him underwear and bragged about buying it for years, I held my belly and stayed silent. But silence wasn't weakness. It was the breath before I spoke my truth. It was the space in which I decided what kind of life I wanted for myself and my child. Looking back now, I'm almost grateful for it. That moment forced me to stop drifting and start drawing lines. It forced him to step up or step out. It forced Mira to let go. It forced all of us to grow. On the day our baby was born, he handed me another small bag. Inside was a journal. On the first page he'd written, "This is for you to fill with new traditions, ones we'll make together." I pressed it to my chest and cried, not from sadness but from the strange beauty of having survived that turning point. I turn to you now, the viewer, because you've been walking through this story with me. Maybe you've been silent in your own life, holding your belly, literal or figurative, while someone else's history played out in front of you. Maybe you've thought silence meant weakness. It doesn't. Sometimes it's the space you need to find your courage. Sometimes it's the pause before you say, enough. Choose. Don't be afraid to draw boundaries. Don't be afraid to demand honesty. You and your future deserve it. That's the lesson hidden inside the soft fabric of that birthday gift, the one that almost broke me but instead became the start of something stronger.